Hey everybody. Gardening is one of those wonderful things. It's my passion, and I'm sure for some of you it's yours as well. I love to be out in my garden and see things grow and nurture them up from the ground. But gardening is also very hard, and I know that's also not a revelation to those of you who work hard, blood, sweat, and tears to bring stuff up, grow them, harvest them, preserve them, and that's in the best of times. Of course, sometimes there are challenges. Take, for example, my sweet potato patch. Let me tell you the story. It was our intention this fall to show you a start to finish sweet potato garden, from acquiring the little slips and planting them, getting them all established, all the way through growing them and harvesting them. A 120-day journey for everybody to see and to be inspired to do your own sweet potato garden. And honestly, I'm pretty good at it. Maybe not masterclass level, but I love to grow these things, and I've grown hundreds of pounds in some years. And I was really excited to show you this year what we could do. But you know what? Doesn't always work like that. It started out great. We purchased our slips in June, and I got them planted in the ground right on time. It's real important for sweet potatoes to have about 4 months worth of time to be able to grow. Sweet potatoes don't grow like potatoes do from tubers in the ground. Their potatoes are roots, and they grow from the roots of the plant themselves. So you have to have really healthy plants. And we had 25 beautiful slips that I planted in June, and they started settling in, even getting the purple leaves that you always look for to show that they are established and ready to vine out. And then disaster hit. Well, I'm being a little bit dramatic there. Of course, deer getting into your garden is not a disaster of global implication, but for a gardener, it hurts my heart to know when a deer has gotten in and eaten all of my sweet potatoes right down to the ground. All those beautiful plants that were established and ready to go and grow and vine out, now we're all the way down to the roots, and I had lost about 30 days worth of time. Heidi and I got our heads together and leveraged the knowledge that we have of sweet potatoes to try to figure out what to do. We had these beautiful plants that were rooted in the ground. Would they survive? Could we grow them up? And did we have enough time till the end of the season? Well, Heidi scoured the earth for the last few sweet potato plants that were out there, the slips that had been purchased, and most people had theirs in the ground. So these were like the last, I don't know, 9 of them in the state. And so I planted those, and I decided that what I was going to do was run with the ones that I had and hope that they could rebound, grow up, and have enough time before the first frost. We made two major decisions with our sweet potatoes that I think really helped us this summer, and that came from things we know about sweet potatoes and how they grow. The first one was to use polytunnels that are usually used for season extenders, and we use these at the end of the season and into the winter so that we can grow our turnips and our kale and different things like that. And then in the spring, when we start our spring garden, in case there's a final frost that we miss. So these are really good to keep the cold off. But we know that sweet potatoes, being kind of a tropical kind of plant, like that greenhouse effect. And I'm trying at that point to make my sweet potatoes grow faster and more vigorous in a shorter period of time. So I decided to get out my row tunnels, my polytunnels, and put them on my sweet potato plants. Now, these aren't sweet potato plants under here. These are actually turnips. But the point is that I used this and I covered them. And what I found was that if I covered them at night, the condensation would catch in there. And it was almost like having a greenhouse where those plants would grow really vigorously overnight. And I could pull the tunnels off in the day so that I wouldn't scorch the plants in the hot summer sun. But it seemed to get them to root and establish and thrive a little bit faster than usual. The second major decision that we made was to try to extend our growing season at the end of the season. Now, typically we're harvesting in the middle of October, but we don't have that luxury this year because we lost so much time before the deer ate the plants down to the ground, and we kind of had to start from scratch. And you see, it's really, really late in the season. It's November. All of the summer plants are now gone. The tomatoes and the peppers, they are dead, and they're basically done for the year. All we have right now is kale and spinach and leeks, those types of fall vegetables. But the sweet potatoes, they should have been out by now. So now the day of harvest has arrived. We had our really big freeze a couple of days ago, which is okay because the sweet potatoes that were growing underneath the surface of the plants, at the roots, those are fine. Those have not died off. It's just the plants above the surface, the leaves and the vines. Those are all now dead and they're rotting, they'll go into the compost. It's the roots underneath now that we can dig up, and they are fine, ready to go. I'm a little nervous. Actually, I'm terrified because we've spent the whole summer hoping for this moment, and I don't know what's under the surface. It could be a very meager harvest, or it could be a really good harvest, and we can feel proud of ourselves for kind of hanging in there. So I brought this variety of containers. We might fill them all, or we might only fill half of one, but let's go see right now. The challenge with digging up sweet potatoes is finding the main area where they are buried. Because of the vines and all of the vegetation that goes out from them, sometimes it's difficult to find where the sweet potato base is. And I found one here, and you will note as I dig them up that usually sweet potatoes will grow within a radius of about a foot around the crown. And I like to use a spade when I dig up sweet potatoes rather than a shovel. It gives me a little bit more of a an effect of being able to dig lightly with a shovel. Sometimes you will pierce the potatoes themselves, and you don't want to do that. So this is almost kind of like an archaeological dig. You want to be real careful when you look around for sweet potatoes. And I found one here right at the start of it. And so I'm just going to dig around here, this root. You can pull the plant up a little bit too and grab it to see what potatoes might lie beneath. Now this isn't necessarily all of the sweet potatoes on this plant. I'll have to dig a little more around to find if there are any more. But these are edible. They're a little small, but let's put those in the basket. And all of this can be eaten by the chickens or our donkeys. I see we have a larger one right here. Like I said, they do tend to go a little deep. Once you find the potatoes that are near the surface, you want to dig a little deeper. So discard this plant material and start to kind of work your spade very carefully around. That's why I like to use the hand spade, because it makes it so much easier for me to dig slowly. But you want to dig down enough where you can make sure that any hidden ones, any mysterious ones down here are found. And like I said, sometimes you want to go down quite a bit to be able to find any. These roots here will sometimes tell you that there might be more. That one not, but sometimes you just follow that root system. And remember that sweet potatoes are part of the root. They are not tubers like regular potatoes. And so sometimes the root, even several feet out from the plant itself, will start making those swollen parts that become the sweet potato. Oh, there's one. See what I mean? That was about that was about 18 inches out from the base, and I didn't know where it was until I ran into it. So keep on digging around each of your plants. All right, I've exhausted all of my possibilities here for this plant, and so I'm just smoothing this soil up. Look at that soil. Isn't it great? Lovely soil. This works really great for sweet potatoes. So I'm going to move on to the next plant and then the next plant, and we'll see overall what my harvest this season looks like. Another larger one. Can't tell. We'll dig that. That's a small one, but it leads me to the next plant. So we'll pull that up and see. Some right under the main stem that look really good. All right, let's see what's here. And here is our harvest, about 20 pounds worth. Some larger ones like this that look like the sweet potatoes you would see in the stores, down to a little smaller. This, some people might throw away, but keep it, because even though it looks like it's just a root, remember, sweet potatoes are roots, and this is just, it didn't get quite as big. Tastes the same, and you can use it in stir fry, you can dice it up and put it in soups. But the 20 pounds, I would be dishonest if I said I wasn't a little disappointed with that from 25 plants. But knowing the challenges that we had this year with the deer eating down to the roots and having that time wasted, I can understand why some of these didn't get quite as big. as what I would have expected. But you know what? As I look at it, there are challenges in the garden every year. This year, it just happened to be our sweet potatoes. But remember all of the things in your garden that succeed. For every failure you have, you can have some successes. Like, for example, this year, our persimmon tree is so abundant and the yield is great. And we probably have 100 persimmons on this tree behind me. Just exciting to harvest that. We had a great season with our loofah plant. We had great season with our figs. We had great seasons with our greens and our tomatoes and our peppers. So I look at this and I say, well, I'll try again next year. But I'm glad that we continued with it. I'm glad we kept with it and that we didn't give up, because that's part of what homesteading is all about. So whatever homestead size you have, whether it's a balcony garden, whether it is a raised bed garden or a really big garden patch, it doesn't matter. The joy is always there when you can nurture things all the way up from the ground. If you have a challenge, don't give up. Keep at it. There are going to be failures, but there are lots of successes. And I hope you have a lot of success in your garden this year. Blessings from our homestead to yours.